Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today's session. We're so excited to have you with us and share some great information today. Let us know in the chat where you're coming from. We'd love to hear where people are joining in from. I am in sunny North Carolina today, and my name is Courtney Pollock. I'd like to welcome you to today's session, Cloud Confusion, Your Sage 100 Options Explain, presented by SWK Technologies. And give me one moment. I am just going to fix some audio feedback I am getting. Perfect. There we go. So before we get started, I have just a couple things to share with you guys before we dive in. So the session today is being recorded, and we're going to share that recording with everyone tomorrow afternoon for all those attendees who registered and were able to attend today, and also those people that were not able to join us live. Besides that, everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise to a minimum. However, throughout the session, you can ask any questions you have. We highly encourage it. We'd love to hear your questions and make sure you get all the information you need today. So to do that, you can look in the right-hand panel. There's going to be a Q&A area where you can submit your question. And as always, you can participate in the chat. We'll be running a poll later on, so you can participate in the poll in that area as well. So with that said, we're thrilled that you've taken some time out of your busy day to be with us on today's webinar. SWK is always here to help you fulfill your vision of a smarter and easier way to run your business by providing you with tools, support, software, and industry knowledge whenever you need it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. Our team today is Noah Corwick, a MCS sales executive, and John Shepperson, who is our senior vice president of business development. Two of our great SWKers, and they've got a lot of information to share with you. So let's go ahead and dive in, and I am going to bring sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I want to tell you a little bit about why we're here before I bring Noah on stage, who I'm just excited to let share his expertise with you. So we're here today to talk about Sage 100 and the different ways that you can get cloud capabilities if you're running that system or similar Sage legacy system. And the reason is those legacy systems are just having a hard time keeping up in today's modern tech world. And really, there's two distinct options for those Sage 100 users. And these have different impacts on your daily operations, your user experience for your employees, your customer experience, how your IT infrastructure is set up, budget, etc., all of those great things. So we really want to help you cut through the different confusion today around what cloud is and what that means, especially particularly for Sage 100 users, and find the right path for you and your business. So now I can finally bring Noah on stage to start talking about cloud hosting for Sage 100. Noah, take it away.
Thanks, Courtney. Appreciate it. Hey, everyone. Again, I'm Noah Corwick. I'm part of our MCS team here at SWK that stands for Managed Cloud Services. So think of your cloud, cybersecurity, managed IT professional services. I handle our net new logos here, and I'm out of Phoenix, Arizona. See everyone sharing that in the chat. So hello, everyone. So to start off, what is the cloud, or what is the cloud hosting for Sage 100? Sage just doesn't do the best job of kind of clarifying that. So that's one of my big jobs to do here. So what is it really? So the first thing I always like to set, proper expectations on. It's the Sage that you guys are used to now. So it's not some different, like, watered down version of Sage or anything like that. The Sage would have the same modules, configuration, settings, everything that you've already predetermined and pre-configured, but you're just accessing it from a different location over the internet, right? So instead of clicking on a Sage desktop icon, you would click on another icon that would take you to your Sage icon. So there's some confusion around that. So again, Sage 100 in all of its glory at the end of the day. Now, you access this via a secure remote connection. I'll talk about VPNs in a little bit, but one of the things that we use here at SWK is you don't need a VPN connection, which those are kind of fun to handle and maintain, fun in air quotes. And you can access Sage from public Wi-Fi, even though those are not the most secure. You use the Wi-Fi to get to a connection that is secure, or a secure tunnel at the end of the day. So the world's your oyster. You work on Sage wherever you want at the end of the day. So think of it as lifting and shifting, right? So instead of your Sage being on a server right now, or maybe, it access via your computer or workstation, it Sage is moved to another location. Think of it as the car. You're just putting the car, Sage, in another garage, being the hosting solution. So what changes for users? Change is scary. So I always like to make sure everyone's aware of what this would look like. The big thing is the login process, right? Like we talked about before, instead of clicking on your desktop icon, you're going to click on another icon. It could be remote desktop, or at SWK, we use a tool called Parallels. All accomplishes the same thing. And then from there, you see what you're normally used to. And again, what you're used to, and I'm sure 99.9% of users have used a Windows computer in their life. That's what you're going to see here. Start menu on the bottom left. Excel, we throw on Excel, for example, see Excel icons, Windows folders, and your normal Sage stuff. The only thing that might be different, right, if you go from example like a Sage 100 2021 to a 2024 25, your software's inherently going to act and feel a little different because it's a newer version. Or you upgrade an edition, you go from advanced to premium, right? One with the ProvideX backend with now one with the SQL. So differences in that, but it'll act the same way the desktop software is supposed to. And actually, performance may increase because the environment that Sage would be hosted on is dedicated to your stuff and your Sage. It's not sharing any resources with other Sage users or any systems that you have installed locally or anything like that. So it's dedicated to you. And again, home is the world is your oyster. You can access via any device with internet access. Can be a Mac for all your Mac users out there. I'm one myself. You can access there. And yeah, it's makes accessing Sage that much more easy. Now, obviously, if you're moving Sage, there's some infrastructural changes, right? So before, typically we see I work with a lot of Sage clients who Sage is the last software that is installed locally. Everything else is SaaS-based or in the cloud or web-based already, and Sage is kind of like the last domino that needs to be moved somewhere. So typically, there's servers in an office that you either access directly or, from wherever via like a VPN. But there's physical servers that need to be maintained. IT teams obviously maintain that, and there could be virtual servers within your physical server, kind of Inception, if everyone's familiar with the movie. And then backups and disaster recovery are obviously a part of maintaining that, in the Windows CALs and the user CALs and all the security licensing. There's a lot of like backend licensing that goes with maintaining the server that Sage might be living on. And then limited redundancy, that server goes down. How's that being backed up? What is a disaster recovery plan? Is there things like high availability? A lot of nerdy terms there, but a lot to keep in mind at the end of the day. By moving to the cloud, you get access to a team and not just a person or a few people. Like here at SWK, we have a team of cloud specialists and obviously Sage specialists that have your back at the end of the day. If having trouble logging on, or hey, Sage is acting a little funny today, can you take a look? You have access to a full team as opposed to a couple people who take PTO. Things happen, right? Life is life. So you get access to more. And then with that, you get monitoring 24/7 from like an environment health standpoint and security standpoint. At the end of the day, I always like to kind of stress that just because people are good at managing servers doesn't mean they're ninjas at cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is probably changed 20 times during this call, maybe 30. And so having the team that's able to stay on top of security protocols and measures and best practices while knowing what to look for is a whole different skill set. So working with a company that has a SOC team, security operations center, aka your tech specialist for security, is really important. Having things like multi-factor authentication, like where you get the code sent to your phone that you have to put in, things like that. And being reactive as opposed to, or proactive as opposed to reactive, right? If an environment is acting a little sluggish, being able to be notified that, hey, we're probably low on disk space, or you need to bump up CPU or RAM or server horsepower, right? So you get the benefit of that. And then with redundancy, where let's say your Sage server is acting weird, another server spun up in its place, and you never know the difference, right? It's that like seamless redundancy disaster recovery, just different redundancies in place by moving to a hosted solution for your for Sage. So benefits and ROI. I know everyone likes those two big words, and obviously savings here. Um, Savings, it really, you switch from more of a CapEx to an OpEx model, right? More of that monthly predictable IT budget as opposed to CapEx where it's every so often and, it's a big lump sum. And you eliminate server hardware costs because of it. Again, there's Windows CALs, user CALs, VPNs that need to be maintained. Cybersecurity licenses on there, backup and DR. The list goes on and on and on. But you're able to, and then hardware itself, right? If you're getting a server worth a darn, could be between 10 and 30K, like if you're getting a good one. And if it's just Sage on there, you don't really need that. Move it to the cloud, save on electricity. You get to reduce, your IT, management for maintaining those servers overall, shift to kind of the bigger pictures or maybe the things that you want to focus on a little bit more. And then, lower disaster recovery expenses and just kind of the redundancy that we talked about already. So ROI, one of the cool things while moving to a hosted solution is, again, like upgrades and updates, able to easily interface with the teams to get updates done more seamlessly. And, just creates more of like a easy to use Sage environment. You get the increased security and support, like we talked about, not having to hire outside IT people or internal IT people, which, they're not cheap to support, and all the PTO and benefits that go with hiring an employee, right? And I mentioned this before, but VPNs, when they're not set up correctly and not maintained, they become more cumbersome. We hear that all the time at SWK. Or like, hey, everything's a little bit slower. A lot of the time it's because the VPNs are just not great at the end of the day. And the real benefits, look, peace of mind. You're not having to wake up at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Oh, shoot, did I update my Sage server like I was supposed to? Or is my backup running? Or is the latest antivirus on there, right? You get the peace of mind. That's all done for you and managed along with you at the end of the day. And again, less management from you. You can focus on the big picture stuff and not the minutia of maintaining the server. You're able to, again, work from the beach. Don't get sand in your computer or your workstation or whatnot. But the world really is your virtual office. Go to Starbucks, doesn't matter. And again, focus on bigger IT projects and initiatives as opposed to just the overall maintenance at the end of the day. So those are a lot of the ones that we hear our partners talk about from our experience. Now, without further ado, I'm going to hand the metaphorical mic to John Shepperson, the man, the myth, the legend himself, and he'll go over what is cloud ERP.
Thank you, Noah. That's quite an introduction. I'm going to have to bring you along everywhere I go. I'm John Shepperson, Senior VP of Business Development. I've been at SWK for a little less than 10 years now. I once sat on your side of the table. I was a controller for a company running Sage 100. Back then it was called Mass 90. Called myself a recovering accountant. But at any rate, so after what Noah went through, your second choice of getting to the cloud is going to a completely different platform and going to something that was built in the cloud. And we'll talk a lot about that in the coming slides here. But the products that SWK represents, they were built in the cloud. They were built on on a browser. The APIs are open. What that means is easier integration, those types of things. There is no installs on the workstation or the server. There is no server for that matter. So it's more like it's easier to update. And it's more like what you're used to in your personal life. If you think about what you're doing on your banking, your Google, your Apple, your music, your apps, right? There is no server. And so it kind of brings the ERP into a modern state. So obviously it's mobile friendly. You can get to it anywhere, access on any device. The configurable workflows with customization, real-time visibility across all of your data. when you hire younger people nowadays, I have two kids in college and one that'll be in the workforce starting next year. They're not used to, they don't even understand what a client server is, right? And the whole situation there. So I think, as you hire younger people, they're going to expect more of a seamless type approach to their systems they use at work. So a lot of the things that you may have in Sage 100, first of all, I mentioned that the two platforms we carry are Sage Intacct and Acumatica are the two platforms. But a lot of the things that you have to add on to Sage 100 today through the ISV channels are built into these products. Things like analytics with dashboards, API design so that you can integrate to other cloud applications, um, you know, multi-entity management, those types of things, warehouse automation, AP automation, all of those types of things that you have to add on as third-party vendors to your Sage today, which creates somewhat of a complexity in upgrading, and those types of things are built into the product. So what impact does going to a new platform have on your business? The biggest thing is scalability. Is that it will scale with your business. So I know a lot of you I'm sure, have had issues with Sage 100 in transaction volume, either importing data in or the famous ODBC connection that makes reporting very difficult once you have large data sets. That goes away, right? So these products were built to scale, and because it's a software as a service, once you need more horsepower, they just add more horsepower, and it's dynamic. The other things you can get to are the collaboration between your departments, having dashboards that are role specific to your specific role in the company. Operational efficiency is the other big one. Using your software instead of having to hire people. It's very expensive to hire people. It's hard to find people. And the more you can do within the software and to automate your processes, the better off you're going to be financially. Then the final thing is really that I think we talked about it, but the expanded opportunities to integrate with other cloud softwares, things like e-commerce solutions, EDI, and those other things that are very, very much simpler in a cloud environment. So what to look for to know that you may need to look at doing a platform change? First of all, you would be growing. You're not going to do this unless you're in growth mode. That's the reason almost everyone that comes to us to change platforms, regardless of what they're changing from, whether that be Sage 100 or a Dynamics, Great Plains, or whatever. They're all coming to us because they're growing. Lots of manual processes, paper, look for the paper in the organization. Is there paper going through the office? Is there paper going through the warehouse? Double and triple entry, right? You have an e-commerce site and you're entering, your customer may enter an order on the e-commerce site or your salesperson, but then you have to turn around and enter it into the ERP system. Excel proliferation. I talk about, the Excel bunny multiplying across your office. The more Excel spreadsheets you have to run your business, the more you're prone to mistakes and issues. Also, you can't, if somebody's got an Excel spreadsheet, it may be hard to share, right? You may not be able to get to the data when you need it. Manual reporting, so you can't get there from here. Things like having to take 2 reports, download the data, and put it in Excel. Then, getting trouble getting customer information. So things like if a customer calls and they need to know what they ordered last, or something like that, just being able to get that. Mobile access is a big one. If your business has expanded into multiple locations or you're off-site somewhere and still have to get to the ERP system, not being able to access that mobily in an efficient manner is something that can create real problems. Too many third-party add-ons like we talked about. If you've got 3, 4, or 5 of them now, your upgrades are probably pretty difficult. So that may be a sign that you may need to look at something different. And finally, difficulty integrating into other platforms like what we talked about. So what can you do? No one does this in a vacuum very quickly. These are decisions that are made over time. We will tell you that taking your time and planning things is a great way to do it. It's not an all or nothing type thing. So even if you're 2 years away from potentially migrating to a new platform, um, doing things like moving to hosting is a first step, right? Get rid of your infrastructure, get rid of the servers in the office. That'll just make it that much easier moving forward. Cleaning up your data. If you've got 20 years of data and anything past 5 years ago is not relevant, just getting that stuff cleaned up ahead of time is a great way to get prepared. We tell all of our customers to review your document your processes throughout the organization. It gets everybody on the same page. I can't tell you how many times I've sat with companies in a room and people argue about how they do things. What are your requirements? What gaps do you need to fill that you're having today with Sage 100? And then finally, if you are going to look at third parties to add on to Sage 100 today, and you think you may want to migrate down the road, then making sure they're portable. There's a lot of the Sage 100 ISVs that are portable into these other products, things like Avalara for taxes, SPS Commerce for EDI, AP automation like Avid Exchange, reporting and dashboards like DataSelf, and those types of things are all portable to another product, which will make it easier for you when it's time to go into a new platform. And then, which path is right for you? The cloud ERP, or maybe something you need to do if you're outgrowing your system, or you're feeling that pain of the spreadsheets, you're feeling the pain of the mobile access and those types of things, and just the growth is creating issues with that. Cloud hosting may be a better option if everything's fine as far as your functionality goes, but you need a more efficient way to get mobily or something like that. Obviously, your budget is going to be lower on the cloud hosting side than it is on switching out to your ERP. But either way, SWK can help you prepare for that. And I'm going to, when you're done today, regardless of which way you think you may want to go, or if at all, we would offer a couple different things. If you want to look at cloud hosting, Noah can set up a call with you to start gathering some information to give you a quote. I have a team that works for me called Strategic Technology Advisory Team. And it's a group of senior folks like myself who've been around the block for 15, 20, 30 years around ERP. And our sole job in that department is to go into and talk to our Sage 100 customers and talk through the requirements, educate you about how much it's going to cost, how long it's going to take if you wanted to do a migration, help planning those migrations as far as what can you do today to prepare for it. Even if you're just thinking about it and you think you're 2 years away from doing anything, we would still love to talk to you, because the more you know, the better off things are going to be. And I'll turn it over to Courtney now to finish up.
Thank you, John. So yes, we are going to launch a quick poll. Just curious to know what would be most valuable for your business. So that will be launching in the right-hand side of your screen in just a moment, with a few different options. Do you want to take advantage of that free strategic consult with John's team that he was just talking about, with all of those senior people that can really talk about that fuller picture of your business? Are you sure that maybe cloud hosting is something you guys want to look into right away, or cloud ERP, or mix of any of those things? Sound off in the poll. And then obviously there's a couple different ways. You can also email us at webinars@SWK Tech, tomorrow, next week, whenever, if you come to a decision and really know what you want to do with your next path. So we'll leave that poll open for the rest of the webinar. And then we are going to go ahead and move on to our Q&A portion. So I'm going to bring Noah on stage as well. Welcome back, Noah. So, I know we went through a lot of that really fast. We promised, a 30-minute session today. So there is a ton more detail to dive into on either side. And obviously we'll make this, slide deck available to you, the recording available to you as well. And we're going to answer as many questions as we can in the next 6 or so minutes. I've seen tons of great questions coming through in the chat and the Q&A. So thank you for that. And we might go a little bit past time to get all the questions answered today. And if you have to jump, no worries. We're going to send you that recording. So let's go ahead and dive in. John, Noah, I have a question myself that I want to start off with for you guys. Can you talk a little bit about what that happens to the historical data in either scenario, whether that be switching to a cloud ERP or moving to hosting?
Yeah, I can start with that. Thanks, Courtney. Yeah, the historical data will come over, right? Think of it again like the apples to apples at the end of the day. Again, if you're shifting to a newer version or year, right, there might be some differences for how it looks, right? That's more of like a software specific. But as far as historical data goes, it's data within Sage. If it's important to you, it'll come over at the end of the day. So yeah, nothing really changes on that front, thankfully for us all.
It's a little more complicated when you go to a new ERP system. So we typically bring over however many years of GL history you want, and then we kind of work with you to figure out what else we need to bring over. One of the things you could do is if you're already using a dashboarding or a reporting tool, you could have all of your history already there, and it will transfer over. Otherwise, we just work with you to figure out what needs to come over, and then make that part of the project.
Perfect. Thank you. I want to jump to one of our questions from the audience, and hopefully I can sort through, exactly what we're trying to get at here. So this one says, I think this one came in during Noah year portion. It says, are updates managed by SWK? We still use I think a question here, can we still use SWK for tech support? And they said they use multi-check, laser check printing. So I think a couple levels there, but just how would updates happen, I think, on the cloud hosting side?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, so we update the server, like the backend server, like Windows updates, like SWK, for example, for our hosting. We do them once a month on a 1 month lag, let all the bugs and whatnot flesh itself out. On Sage itself, we're never going to do that like ad hoc because that could affect your doing payroll. That could affect,
You still have, but you still have your Sage support that you have with us.
Right, exactly, right. So you would collaborate with our team so that we can coordinate that with you, right? And then we can make sure everyone's out of the system, everyone's eating dinner for the evening, what have you. But we're never going to do it without your permission. But yes, we definitely have your back on that. And then printers and other third-party software, yeah, that works really seamlessly. Scanning, printing, that works very well.
Perfect. Thank you. And as we continue on with these questions, I'm actually going to go ahead and add the poll to the stage as well for anyone who wants to get that question in. So just if you can't find it, to the right side, and I've lost my deck. No worries, guys. We're going to dive right back into questions. So if you can't find that, it is in the right-hand side. And there's also that button at the top of your screen you can click. And I am bringing that up because our next question has to do with speed of Sage 100. So I've seen a few people mention they've got slow speed with their Sage 100, etc. So this person's saying, our speed is horrible with 1 to 4 users. We have limited data, only several modules. Is there a way to get a review to ensure that we would see a significant increase with one of these options? Our server has only a couple other programs and we replaced it 2 years ago. And I've also seen some other questions about speed of Sage 100. So speaking to that, is there a way to get a review? You can definitely let us know in the poll. You can click that button up top about the strategic review and fill out the form. If you don't want to fill out a form, just let us know in the poll. But could John or Noah, can you guys speak to kind of improved speed or capability or, this question of, is there a way to review how this would impact us? Probably you, John.
Yeah, certainly. I will tell you a lot of times when that's happening, it's because your antivirus software is looking at the Sage files. And that's something our team, between Noah's team and the Sage team, can help you look at. But we could definitely give you some benchmarks. Noah can work on that with you to, spin something up and let you look at it and, and just show you what it may look like. Also, we can let you talk to other customers that have also already done this change as well. But I would recommend, if you're having those kinds of issues, to look at your virus software.
Perfect. Thank you. And we're going to keep going. I think we've just got a couple more questions, so we'll go just a minute or two past. This person asked, is Sage 100 cloud browser based or what we have now running on a VDI?
No, it is not browser based, nor is it likely to be ever. It was the way that the user interface is the same regardless. So you're going to see the same user interface. It's just you're logging into a terminal server type environment.
Perfect. And I think we've kind of touched on this, but just to make sure it's extra clear, this person said, how does a hosted Mass 100 solution, so also Sage 100, work with DocLink? So I think that's DocLink by Alltech. So I guess just speaking to that, third-party integrations.
Yeah, we would have to just and make sure that's part of the installation and make sure it's part of the scoping process. So whenever Noah and his team talk to you about hosting, they're going to gather. I think someone else talked about F9, which is a simple Excel add-in. We have to take a look at everything you're using and then make sure that's part of the solution.
Perfect. Great. And there were some other questions you maybe caught them in the chat that we answered. And then if you have another question that maybe we've missed or that you want to get followed up with, we'll definitely follow up with you if you've asked it and we were unable to answer today as we wrap with time. But you can always reach out to us at swktech.com. You could find a lot of information there. Obviously, our heads are blocking it just a little bit. You can always reach us at info@swktech.com. As I mentioned, webinars at swktech.com. Tons of ways to reach us. We'll get your questions answered. And like I said, we'll share this recording today for you to reference. But if you'd like to take advantage of having that strategic consult meeting or dive right into learning more about hosting Sage 100 or Cloud ERP and what that really means specifically for you, we'd love to have that conversation because, there's only so much we can cover 30 minutes. That's really encompasses everyone's predicament. And you all have a special way your business and setup runs. So thank you, Noah. Thank you, John, for sharing so much information with us today. And thank you to everyone out there in the audience. We hope you found this informative. Definitely reach out if we can help you out with anything. We love to get you the answers that you need. So thank you all and have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, or I think Tuesday. Sorry there. Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.